3 months passed since the Battle of Meridian 4. The galaxy was a very different place now. Sanctuary Station floated in space at the border between Council territory and human space. It was enormous, built by humans and aliens working together. Ships from dozens of different species docked there every day. The station was a symbol of the new alliance between humanity and the Galactic Council. Admiral Kang Minho stood in his new office on the station, looking out at the stars. He was now in charge of the Joint Human Council Defense Force. It was a big responsibility, but he believed in the mission: protect those who couldn't protect themselves. His door chimed. "Come in," he called. Captain Lee Jiwoo entered, now wearing the insignia of a fleet admiral. She had been promoted after Meridian 4. "Admiral, the council representatives are here for the morning briefing." "Good. Let's not keep them waiting." They walked together to the command center, where council members and human officers worked side by side. It had taken time for everyone to adjust. The council species found humans loud and direct. Humans found council species too formal and slow. But they were learning to work together. Ambassador Kelrix was already there, reviewing reports. He had become humanity's biggest supporter on the council. "Good morning, Admiral Minho. We have news from the Kral border." "What kind of news?" Minho asked. "The Kral are regrouping. Our scouts report they're building up another fleet. It seems they want revenge for their defeat at Meridian 4. Jiwoo smiled. "Let them come. We'll be ready." In the training section of Sanctuary Station, humans were teaching council officers how to fight. It was not going well. Lieutenant Cho Minji, now promoted from sergeant, watched a council officer try to navigate an obstacle course. The poor alien stumbled and fell after the first wall. "You have to use your momentum," Minji called out. "Don't fight against the obstacles, work with them." The council officer got up slowly. "This is impossible. These obstacles are too difficult. For humans, this is basic training. We do this when we're teenagers. Your teenagers are stronger than our soldiers," the officer said sadly. Minji helped him up. "It's not about strength. It's about determination. On Earth, if you give up, you die. So we learned never to give up." "You can learn that too." The officer tried again. This time he made it over the first wall before falling. Minji smiled. "Better. Keep trying." In the science section, Dr. Nam Seojin was running an exchange program. Council scientists visited Earth to study human biology and medicine. It was shocking for them. "Your planet has diseases that would kill my entire species," one alien scientist said, looking at data on human immune systems. "How do you survive?" "Our immune systems are like our military," Seojin explained. "Very aggressive and very effective. We fought diseases for millions of years. Our bodies learned to fight back hard." "Incredible. And you use this knowledge to help others?" "Of course. That's why I became a doctor. To help people, whether they're human or alien." The alien scientist was impressed. "Your species is full of surprises. Warriors who want peace. Survivors who share their knowledge. Deathworlders with kind hearts," Sojin smiled. "We're just doing what we think is right." In a quiet corner of the station, First Observer Thilik was writing a report. His false distress call had started this entire situation. He felt responsible for everything that happened, both good and bad. Ambassador Kelrix found him there. "Still working on that report?" "Yes, I'm documenting everything for the historical records. Future generations should know how humanity joined the galaxy. It started with my mistake." "A mistake that turned into something wonderful," Kelrix said. "Because of you, we found allies we desperately needed. The council is safer now. Thousands of lives have been saved. I suppose. But I still feel foolish. Don't. Sometimes the best things come from unexpected places." Suddenly alarms rang through the station. Everyone rushed to the command center. Lieutenant Commander Park Hyunwoo, now Chief Intelligence Officer, had urgent news. "Admiral, the Kral are attacking. They've hit 3 council colonies at once with massive force. This is a full invasion, not just a raid." Admiral Minho's face became serious. "How many ships?" "Reports say over 80 vessels split into 3 fleets." Kelrix looked worried. "We don't have enough forces to defend all 3 colonies at once." "Yes, we do," Jiwoo said firmly. She pulled up tactical displays. "We split our fleet into 3 groups. Hit them fast and hard at all 3 locations. They won't expect us to attack everywhere simultaneously." "That's risky," Hyunwoo warned. "If we split up, each group will be outnumbered. Then we'll just have to be better than them," Minho said. which we are. Send the orders. All ships prepare for immediate deployment. Sanctuary Station became a hive of activity. Ships powered up. Marines loaded into transports. Pilots ran to their fighters. Commander Baek Soo-min kissed her lucky charm and climbed into her fighter's cockpit. The Joint Human Council Defense Force launched within 30 minutes. It was a beautiful sight. Human warships flying alongside Council vessels, different species working together toward the same goal. At the first colony, Ji-woo led the defense personally. She found the Kral fleet bombing civilian targets again. They never learned. All ships weapons-free. Show them what happens when they make the same mistake twice. The battle was shorter than Meridian 4. The humans had been training for 3 months. They were even better now. The Kral were destroyed in less than an hour. At the second colony, Commander Soo-min's fighter squadrons performed what would later be called the Sanctuary Maneuver. They attacked from above and below at the same time, using the planet's gravity to boost their speed. The Kral couldn't track them. Their fleet was broken apart before they could respond effectively. At the third colony, Lieutenant Minji led a ground assault that became legendary. Her Marines dropped directly onto the Kral landing ships before they could deploy troops. The Kral soldiers woke up to find human warriors already inside their own ships. The battle was over in minutes. War Master Thex, commanding from a distance, watched all 3 of his fleets get destroyed simultaneously. He couldn't believe it. The humans had beaten him at 3 different places at the same time. This time, he didn't try to fight. He sent a message directly to Admiral Minho. I wish to discuss terms of surrender. On Sanctuary Station, Minho received the message. He could have refused. He could have destroyed the remaining Kral forces completely, but that wasn't the human way. Not anymore, bring him here. We'll talk. 2 days later, War Master Thex stood in Sanctuary Station's conference room. He expected to be executed or imprisoned. Instead, Admiral Minho offered him a chair and a drink. Why do you show me mercy? Thex asked, confused. We attacked you. We killed civilians. Because humans learned a long time ago that revenge doesn't solve anything, Minho answered. We fought each other for thousands of years. Wars, genocides, terrible things. But we learned to forgive and work together. Now we're stronger than we ever were when we fought each other. Thex looked down. The Kral Dominion has only ever known conquest. We don't know how to do anything else. Then we'll teach you, Captain Ji-woo said. Join the Alliance. Use your strength to protect instead of destroy. It's not weakness. It's much harder than fighting. Thex was silent for a long time. Finally, he nodded. I will take your offer to my people. I cannot promise they will accept, but I will try. That's all we ask, Minho said. The treaty was signed 1 month later. The Kral Dominion joined the Alliance, becoming the Council's newest member. Not everyone was happy about it. Some Council members didn't trust the Kral. Some Kral warriors felt dishonored by the peace, but it worked. Slowly, carefully, it worked. 6 months after the original distress call, Admiral Minho stood on Sanctuary Station's observation deck with Admiral Ji-woo, Dr. Seojin, Lieutenant Minji, Commander Soo-min, Ambassador Kelrix, and First Observer Thilik. They watched ships from dozens of species flying together through space. Human warships protected Council trading vessels. Kral warriors trained alongside human marines. Scientists from different worlds shared knowledge freely. I never imagined this, Thilik said quietly. When I sent that distress call, I thought I was making the biggest mistake of my life. You were, Minho said with a smile. But sometimes mistakes lead to something better than we could have planned. Humans have changed the galaxy, Kelrix added. You've shown us that strength doesn't have to mean cruelty, that warriors can be protectors. We're just doing what we think is right, Ji-woo said, answering distress calls, helping those in need. It's what we've always done. A new message came through the station's communication system. Another distress call, this time from the far edge of Council space. A colony was threatened by space pirates. Minho looked at his officers. They were already moving toward their ships before he could say anything. I guess we have work to do, he said. We always do, Minji replied with a grin. The fleet launched from Sanctuary Station, heading toward another crisis. Because that's what Deathworlders do. They answer the call. They protect the weak. They fight so others don't have to. And they never ever abandon someone who needs help. As the fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, a message broadcast across all Council frequencies. Commander Baek Suman pushed her fighter to maximum speed, leading her squadron directly at the crawl fleet. Behind her visor, her eyes were focused and calm. She had trained for moments like this her entire career. All fighters break into attack formation Delta. Target their bomber ships first. Those are the ones hurting the civilians. 20 human fighters split into 4 groups, moving in perfect coordination. The Krall saw them coming and laughed. These fighters were so small compared to their massive warships. That was their first mistake. Suman's fighter fired a missile that moved faster than anything the Krall had ever seen. It hit a Krall bomber directly in the engine section. The explosion was enormous. The bomber broke apart and fell toward the planet below. Direct hit, her wingman called out. Their shields didn't even slow it down. Earth weapons, Suman said with a small smile. We build them to break things. The Krall fleet scrambled to respond, but the human fighters were already gone, moving to their next targets. They didn't fly in predictable patterns like council ships. They moved like hunters, fast and deadly. On the Iron Resolve, Captain Jiwoo watched the battle unfold on her tactical display. The Krall fleet was big, but they fought stupidly. They bunched together, making themselves easy targets. They focused on power instead of strategy. Target their command ship, Jiwoo ordered. Let's cut the head off this snake. The Iron Resolve's main cannons fired. The shots were so powerful they lit up space like miniature suns. They hit the Krall flagship's shields and shattered them like glass. The second volley hit the ship itself, tearing through armor that was supposed to be unbreakable. War Master Thex stumbled on his bridge as explosions rocked his ship. What's happening? How are they so powerful? Sir, their weapons are kinetic accelerators. They're firing solid projectiles at near light speed. Our shields aren't designed to stop that kind of impact. Thex's eyes widened. These aliens weren't using energy weapons like civilized species. They were throwing metal at extreme speeds. It was primitive and brutal and terrifyingly effective. All ships, scatter. Don't let them target you easily. But the humans had already predicted that move. Lieutenant Commander Park Hyun-woo had studied the Krall tactics from Council records. He knew how they would respond. They're scattering, just like you said, an officer reported to Jiwoo. Good, that means they're scared. Hit them from multiple angles. Confuse their sensors. The human fleet split up, attacking from above, below, and both sides at once. The Krall didn't know where to shoot first. Every time they focused on one human ship, 2 more would hit them from different directions. Down on Meridian 4, the situation was desperate. The colony's main city was on fire. Buildings had collapsed. Thousands of civilians were trapped in shelters, too scared to come out while Krall ships bombed from above. Sergeant Cho Minji and her 40 Marines dropped from orbit in armored pods. The pods fell like meteors, burning through the atmosphere at incredible speed. Inside her pod, Minji checked her weapons one last time. 30 seconds to impact, the computer announced. Brace for landing! The pods hit the ground hard, creating small craters. The doors blew open and the Marines rushed out, weapons ready. They were in the middle of the burning city. Spread out, Minji ordered. Find the civilians and get them to safety. Watch for Krall ground forces. The Marines moved through the ruins quickly and professionally. They had trained in disaster zones and war zones. This was both at the same time, but they didn't panic. They stayed calm and focused. Corporal Kim Taejun found a collapsed building with people trapped inside. He could hear them screaming. The building was unstable, ready to fall completely. I need help here, he called. 3 Marines joined him. Together, they lifted a massive concrete slab that weighed several tons. Their armored suits gave them extra strength, but it was still hard work. They held the slab up while civilians crawled out to safety. An alien woman looked at Taejun in shock. You saved us. But you're so small compared to the Krall soldiers. Taejun smiled behind his helmet. Size doesn't matter. Courage does. Above the city, the battle in space was turning against the Krall. They had started with 30 ships. Now they were down to 18. The human fleet hadn't lost a single vessel. War Master Thex couldn't believe what was happening. His empire had conquered dozens of worlds. His fleet was supposed to be unstoppable, but these humans were destroying his ships like they were made of paper. War Master, we should retreat. His tactical officer begged. No, we are the Krall Dominion. We do not run from anyone. Another explosion rocked the ship. The lights flickered. Fires started in 3 different sections. Lieutenant Park Danby on the Iron Resolve did something the Krall never expected. She hacked into their communication systems. It was easy for her because humans had spent centuries developing cyber warfare. The Krull had never needed to defend against it. Suddenly, false orders went out to all Krull ships. Retreat to coordinates 749. All ships, emergency retreat. Half the Krull fleet, thinking the orders were real, jumped away to the wrong coordinates. Thek screamed in rage as his fleet fell apart. Come back! Those orders are fake! But the damage was done. His fleet was scattered and confused. Commander Suman pressed her advantage. Her fighters hunted down the remaining Krull bombers, making sure none of them could hurt any more civilians. Her squadron moved like a pack of wolves, working together perfectly. On the ground, Sergeant Minji led a rescue operation into the most dangerous part of the city. Krull soldiers were still there, terrorizing civilians. The human Marines moved in quietly. The Krull were big, almost 7 feet tall, with thick armor and powerful weapons. They thought they were the strongest warriors in the galaxy. Then they met humans. Minji's Marines hit them from 3 directions at once. The Krull couldn't react fast enough. Human weapons fired with precision. Human tactics were unpredictable. Human soldiers never stopped moving, never gave the Krull a clear target. One Krull soldier managed to hit a Marine with his weapon. The Marine stumbled but didn't fall. His armor had absorbed most of the impact. He turned and shot back, hitting the Krull directly in the center of mass. The Krull fell, shocked. How were these small aliens so tough? In orbit, War Master Thex finally accepted reality. His fleet was beaten. He had lost 17 ships in 2 hours. If he stayed, he would lose everything. Signal retreat, he said quietly. All remaining ships jump away. Now, the surviving Krull vessels fled into faster-than-light speed, leaving their ground forces behind. Those soldiers, seeing their fleet abandon them, immediately surrendered to the human Marines. Captain Jiwoo watched them run on her displays. Do we pursue? Admiral Minho considered it. No, let them go. They'll spread the word about what happens when you attack Council worlds. That's better than destroying them completely. The battle was over. The human fleet had won without losing a single ship or soldier. Dr. Nam Seojin's medical bay treated civilians from the colony, working alongside local doctors. She taught them human medical techniques, sharing knowledge freely. Ambassador Kelrick stood on the Iron Resolve's bridge, watching everything in silence. He had seen the entire battle. He had watched humans fight with skill and power beyond anything the Council possessed. But what impressed him most was what happened next. The human fleet didn't occupy the colony. They didn't demand payment or territory. Admiral Minho simply asked, "What do you need to rebuild?" Within hours, human engineers were helping repair the damaged city. Marines were clearing rubble and finding survivors. Doctors were treating the wounded. The humans were working as hard to save the colony as they had fought to protect it. Kelrix finally understood what made humans different. They were warriors, yes. They came from a deadly world and carried deadly weapons. But they used that strength to protect others, not conquer them. He sent a message to the Galactic Council. We need to talk about humanity. Everything we feared about them is true, but everything we hoped for is also true. They are exactly what we need. On Meridian 4, civilians came out of their shelters and saw human soldiers helping rebuild their homes. Children who had been terrified an hour ago were now watching curiously as Marines cleared debris with their power armor. One little alien girl walked up to Corporal Taejun and tugged on his armored leg. Are you going to stay and protect us? Taejun knelt down so he was at her eye level. We'll stay until you're safe. That's a promise. The girl smiled and hugged his armored leg. Taejun felt his heart warm. This was why he joined the military. Not to fight, but to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. Sergeant Minji watched the scene and smiled. They had come across the galaxy to answer a false alarm, but now they were answering a real call for help. And they would keep answering as many times as needed. That's what Deathworlders do. The dining hall on the Iron Resolve was filled with an unusual mix of humans and aliens. Admiral Kang Minho sat at the head of the table, with Ambassador Kelrix on his right and First Observer Thilik on his left. Captain Lee Jiwoo and her officers filled the other seats. The Galactic Council delegation looked nervous but curious. Kelrix picked at the food in front of him carefully. Everything on Earth was so intense, the flavors were strong. The spices made his tongue tingle. Even the water tasted different, full of minerals his people never used. I apologize if the food is strange, Minho said. We tried to make it mild for you. This is mild? Kelrix asked. his eyes watering slightly from what humans called a little pepper. Dr. Nam Seojin smiled. Everything on Earth is more extreme than most worlds, Ambassador. We evolved to handle strong flavors, rough textures, and tough conditions. Our bodies are built for survival. Kelrick set down his fork. That's what concerns the Council. Your entire species is built for war and survival. Your military is incredibly powerful. Why should we trust you? The table went quiet. It was a fair question, and everyone knew it. Admiral Minho thought carefully before answering. Ambassador, humans fought each other for thousands of years. We had terrible wars. We almost destroyed ourselves several times. But we learned. We learned that working together is better than fighting. We learned that protecting others is better than conquering them. But you still have all these weapons, Kelrix pointed at the warship around them. Because the universe is dangerous, Captain Jiwoo said. Our planet taught us that lesson every day. Earthquakes, volcanoes, storms, predators, diseases. We built weapons and defenses because we had to. Now we use them to help others instead of hurting them. Felix spoke up quietly. They did come to help me. They thought I was in danger, and they brought their entire fleet to rescue one small ship. That says something about them. Kelrix nodded slowly. He was beginning to understand, but he wanted to learn more. Show me your history. Help me understand your world. Dr. Nam Seojin led the council delegation to the ship's information center. She pulled up images and videos of Earth on the large screens. The aliens watched in growing amazement and horror. This is Earth, Seojin explained. Our gravity is 1G, which is about 30% stronger than most council worlds. Our temperature ranges from -50 degrees to +50 degrees Celsius. We have earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions. The screen showed massive storms, waves as tall as buildings, and mountains of fire exploding into the sky. How do you survive? One council member whispered. We adapt, Seojin answered simply. We build stronger buildings. We create warning systems. We learn to predict disasters and prepare for them. She showed them images of Earth's animals: lions, bears, sharks, crocodiles, poisonous snakes, and spiders. These all live on your world? Kelrix asked in disbelief. Yes. And we learned to live with them. Some we tamed and made into friends. Others we learned to avoid. A few we had to fight. Seojin pulled up an image of an ancient human fighting a huge bear. Our ancestors survived by being smart, tough, and working together. Commander Oyuna, the fleet's cultural specialist, joined the presentation. She was young and enthusiastic, excited to share human culture with aliens. Let me show you something interesting, Yuna said. She played a movie trailer for a disaster film. The aliens watched as a giant asteroid hit Earth, destroying cities and causing massive explosions. This is terrible, one alien cried. Did this really happen? No, Yuna laughed. This is entertainment. We make movies about disasters for fun. The council delegation looked at each other in confusion. These humans watched their worst nightmares for entertainment? Yuna showed them more. Documentaries about climbing Mount Everest where humans died from cold and lack of oxygen. Shows about people jumping out of airplanes with parachutes. Videos of humans diving with sharks. You do these things voluntarily? Kelrix asked. For fun? We like challenges, Lieutenant Commander Park Hyun-woo explained. Our planet made us this way. If you don't challenge yourself, you get weak. We learned that lesson a long time ago. The presentation continued for hours. The council delegation learned about human history. Wars, plagues, ice ages, and extinctions. Events that would have ended any council species. But humans survived everything. Your species should have died out 100 times, Kelrick said quietly. But you're still here. You're stronger than ever. That's what scares the council. You're survivors who can't be stopped. We don't want to scare anyone, Admiral Minho said. We want to help. As if on cue, an alarm sounded. Lieutenant Park Danby ran into the room, her face urgent. Admiral, we're receiving a distress call. It's real this time. Everyone rushed to the bridge. On the main screen, a desperate message played. It showed a council colony world called Meridian 4. Buildings were burning. People were running and screaming. Ships were firing weapons from orbit. This is Meridian 4. We are under attack by the Kral Dominion. They're bombing our cities. We have thousands of civilians trapped. Please, someone help us. Kelrix's face went pale. The Kral. They've been raiding our worlds for months. We can't stop them. Our military isn't strong enough. Minho looked at the ambassador. How many civilians? At least 50,000 on that colony. Minho turned to Captain Jiwoo. How long to reach Meridian 4? 18 hours at maximum speed and do it. All ships prepare for combat operations. Wait. Kelrick stood up. You'll help us? Just like that? You have civilians in danger, Jiwoo said, already heading to her station. That's all we need to know. Admiral Minho put his hand on Kelrick's shoulder. Ambassador, this is what we do. Someone calls for help, we answer. It doesn't matter if they're human or alien. It doesn't matter if we just met you an hour ago. People need help, and we have the power to give it. The human fleet powered up their engines. Fighters launched from the carriers. Marines loaded their weapons and prepared for combat. Commander Beck Suman ran pre-flight checks on her squadron. Sergeant Cho Minji briefed her platoon for a combat drop. Dr. Nam Seojin prepared her medical bay for casualties. She was scared but determined. This was what she feared when she joined the fleet, but also why she joined. To help people, even if it meant danger. The council delegation watched in amazement as the entire human fleet transformed from peaceful hosts into an efficient war machine in less than 30 minutes. Every person knew their job. Every system worked perfectly. It was like watching a single organism with many parts. This is what a Deathworld species looks like when they go to war, Kelrix whispered to Thilik. No, Thilik corrected him. This is what a Deathworld species looks like when they go to protect others. There's a difference. The Iron Resolve jumped to faster than light speed and the rest of the fleet followed. They were racing toward Meridian 4, where the Kral Dominion was about to learn a very important lesson. Never attack someone when Deathworlders are nearby. On his flagship, Kral Warmaster Thex watched Meridian 4 burn with satisfaction. His fleet had conquered dozens of council worlds. These peaceful species were so easy to defeat. They built beautiful cities but couldn't defend them. They valued life but didn't know how to protect it. His sensors officer interrupted his thoughts. Warmaster, we're detecting new ships entering the system. How many? 12 capital ships, multiple carriers, and support vessels. Unknown design. They're not council ships, Thex laughed. The council found some allies. It won't matter. We have 30 ships. We'll destroy these newcomers and finish the colony. Sir, energy readings from the new ships are very high. Their weapon signatures are unusual. I don't care. All ships prepare to engage the new arrivals. Show them what happens when they interfere with the Kral Dominion. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light speed at the edge of the Meridian 4 system. Captain Jiwoo stood on her bridge, her eyes cold and focused. Scan the enemy fleet. Identify targets. Prepare all weapons. Lieutenant Commander Hyunwoo pulled up the tactical data. 30 Kral ships. They're bombing the civilian areas. No attempt at military targets. They're just terrorizing the population. Jiwoo's jaw tightened. She hated bullies, and these Kral were definitely bullies. All ships, she said into the fleet channel. These are not soldiers fighting soldiers. These are murderers attacking civilians. Remember that when you engage. Show them what happens when they meet real warriors. Admiral Minho's voice came over the command channel from his ship. All vessels, you are authorized to use maximum force. Protect those civilians at all costs. Commander Baek Suman's fighter squadron launched first, their engines screaming as they accelerated toward the enemy. Sergeant Cho Minji and her Marines prepared to drop directly into the colony to protect civilians on the ground. The Kral Dominion was about to face Earth's military in real combat for the first time. Warmaster Thex thought he was fighting another weak council species. He was about to learn how wrong he was. The human fleet appeared in the Kepler sector like thunder in a clear sky. 12 warships spread out in attack formation, their weapons powered up and ready. Fighter squadrons launched from the carriers, filling space with small, fast ships. The massive dreadnought Iron Resolve sat in the center, its armor plating gleaming under the distant stars. Captain Lee Jiwoo stood on her bridge, studying the tactical display. Scan for hostiles. Find that distress signal source. Contact, called out Lieutenant Park Danby from communications. I have the civilian ship. It's the small vessel at coordinates 479. On the main screen, Thilik's small exploration ship appeared. It looked tiny and harmless compared to the human warships. Any sign of raiders or attackers? Jiwoo asked. Negative, Captain. The area is clear. No other ships detected, Jiwoo frowned. Something was wrong. Where were the attackers? Where were the raiders that the distress call mentioned? She opened a channel to Admiral Minho, who was monitoring from the command ship. Admiral, we've found the civilian vessel, but there are no hostiles in the area. Minho's voice came back calm and steady. Maybe we scared them off. Or maybe they're hiding. Proceed with caution and contact the civilian ship. On Thelix's vessel, every alarm was screaming. The Valoran's large eyes grew even wider as he watched the human fleet surround his position. He had never seen so many weapons in one place. His hands shook as he tried to send another message. Please understand. There is no emergency. We are not in danger. Please leave peacefully. The message traveled to the Iron Resolve, but the translation system was still broken. The human computers processed the garbled words and displayed, "Hostiles nearby. Send help, situation critical." Lieutenant Park Danby looked confused. "Captain, they're still calling for help, but I'm not detecting any threats." "Maybe their sensors are better than ours," said Lieutenant Commander Park Hyunwoo. "Or maybe the hostiles are using stealth technology." Jiwoo made a decision. "Commander Baek Soo-min, take your fighter squadron and escort that civilian ship to safety. If anyone tries to stop you, you have permission to engage." "Yes, Captain." Soo-min's voice came through the radio. She was one of the fleet's best pilots, fearless and skilled. Soo-min's squadron of 20 fighters broke formation and flew toward Thelix's ship. Their engines glowed bright blue as they accelerated. Thelix saw the fighters coming and panicked completely. To him, it looked like an attack run. He fired up his ship's engines and ran. "They're fleeing," Soo-min reported. "Should we pursue?" "Yes," Jiwoo answered. "They might be running from hostiles we can't see." "Stay with them and protect them." The human fighters chased Thelix's ship through the star system. Thelix pushed his engines to maximum speed, screaming in fear. The human pilots thought they were protecting him. Neither side understood what was really happening. Admiral Minho watched from his command ship and made another decision. "Captain Jiwoo, establish a forward operating base on that moon. If there are hostiles in this sector, we need a permanent presence to protect civilians." "Understood, sir." Within hours, human military engineers were landing on a nearby moon. They started building defensive structures, weapon platforms, and a communications tower. It was standard military procedure for extended operations. They were just following their training. But to Thelix and the other Valorans who were watching from their homeworld, it looked like an invasion. The humans were building a military base in their space without asking permission. Thelix sent an urgent message to the Galactic Council. "The Deathworlders have invaded. They have a massive fleet. They are building bases in our territory. We need help." The Galactic Council received his message with growing horror. Council Arbiter Velix, the leader of the council, called an emergency meeting. Representatives from 20 different species gathered in the council chambers. Velix was old and wise, with silver skin and calm eyes. He had led the council through many crises, but this was different. "Members of the council, we face a serious situation. The humans have deployed military forces into council space. We must respond carefully. We should attack them," shouted one representative. "Drive them out." "No," Felix said firmly. "Our military forces are no match for a species that comes from a death world. We've seen the reports. Human ships are built to survive impacts that would destroy our vessels. Their soldiers train in conditions that would kill us. If we attack, we will lose. Then what do we do?" another representative asked. "We talk," Felix answered. "I'm sending Ambassador Kelrix to negotiate. He's our best diplomat. If anyone can prevent a war, he can." Ambassador Kelrix was already preparing his ship. He was nervous but determined. He had studied the limited information available about humans. They were from a planet called Earth, where the gravity was much stronger than most worlds. Their planet had extreme weather, dangerous animals, and a history of violent conflicts. But the reports also said humans had eventually learned to work together and stop fighting each other. Maybe they could be reasoned with. Kelrix's diplomatic ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, racing toward the Kepler sector. Back on the Iron Resolve, Dr. Nam Seojin was having a breakthrough. She had been working on the translation problem for hours, comparing the distress calls with known language patterns. Suddenly, she understood. "Oh no," she whispered. She ran to the bridge, her medical coat flying behind her. "Captain Jiwoo, we have a major problem." Jiwoo turned from the tactical display. "What is it, Doctor?" "The translation system is corrupted. The distress calls were never about an attack. The alien ship had a minor technical problem, that's all. They fixed it hours ago." There are no raiders. There was never any danger. The bridge went silent. Every officer stared at Dr. Nam in shock. Are you certain? Jiwoo asked quietly. Completely certain. I've corrected the translation matrix. Look. She put the data on the main screen. The original Velarin messages appeared properly translated. Small power failure already repaired. Please do not respond. No emergency. Please leave peacefully. Jiwoo closed her eyes and took a deep breath. We just deployed an entire battle fleet to answer a false alarm. It's worse than that, said Lieutenant Commander Hyun-woo. He pulled up sensor data. Look at this. The Valorans have been running from us because they think we're invading. They've contacted something called the Galactic Council. There's a diplomatic ship heading our way right now. Lieutenant Park Danby established a clear communication channel with Thelix's ship. For the first time, the translation worked properly. Velaran vessel, this is Captain Lee Jiwoo of Earth's 7th Fleet. I apologize for the confusion. We received your distress call and thought you were under attack. We came to help. There was a long silence. Then Thelix's voice came through, shaking with emotion. You? You came to help? You brought all these weapons and ships to help us? Yes, we thought civilians were in danger. We always respond to distress calls. Another silence. Then Thelix started laughing. It was the laugh of someone who had been terrified and suddenly realized how silly the whole situation was. This is the biggest misunderstanding in history. I sent a false alarm. You thought it was real. I thought you were invading. You thought you were rescuing. Jiwoo couldn't help but smile. I suppose we should have checked our translation systems first. I suppose I should have disabled my automatic distress beacon, Thelix replied. The tension broke. Both sides began to relax. Jiwoo ordered her fleet to stand down from combat alert. Thelix stopped running and returned to his original position. But the diplomatic ship was still coming, and Ambassador Kelrix didn't know the crisis was over. He was preparing to negotiate with what he thought were aggressive invaders. When he arrived at the Kepler sector, he was very surprised to find human and Velaran ships sitting peacefully together, with the humans hosting what appeared to be an apology dinner on the Iron Resolve. Kelrix's ship docked with the human flagship. He stepped aboard cautiously, ready for anything. Instead, he found Admiral Minho and Captain Jiwoo greeting him warmly, with Thelix standing beside them looking embarrassed but happy. Ambassador Kelrix, Minho said with a smile, welcome aboard. I believe we have a lot to talk about. But first, would you like some Earth food? We're very sorry for the confusion and we'd like to make it right. Kelrix looked around at the massive warship, the professional soldiers and the powerful weapons. Then he looked at the smiling faces offering him friendship and apology. He began to understand that everything the Council thought about humans might be wrong. The small alien ship drifted quietly through space, its blue lights blinking in the darkness. Inside, First Observer Thelix sat at his station watching the stars pass by. His people, the Valorans, were peaceful explorers who loved studying the universe. Today was supposed to be another calm day of mapping stars and taking notes. Then everything went wrong. The ship's main power core made a strange sound. Lights flickered. Thelix's screen went dark for a moment, then came back on. Warning messages filled his display. The automatic systems thought the ship was in danger and sent out a distress signal before Thelix could stop it. No, no, no. Thelix pressed buttons frantically, trying to cancel the signal. But it was too late. The message was already traveling through space at faster than light speed. Worse, the translation system was damaged. Whatever message went out was probably scrambled and wrong. Thelix fixed the power core in 20 minutes. It was a simple problem, nothing serious, but the distress signal was gone, flying through space toward whoever might hear it. He could only hope nobody would respond to a false alarm. He was very, very wrong. 3 solar systems away, on a human military station called Sejong, Admiral Kang Minho was drinking his morning coffee when the alert came through. A red light flashed on the main screen. His officers gathered around quickly. Sir, we're receiving a distress call, said the communications officer. It's coming from the Kepler sector. Minho set down his coffee and walked to the display. He read the translated message, his face growing serious. The message was broken and unclear, but certain words came through. Under attack. Help needed. Civilians in danger. Raiders. How far away? Minho asked. 4 days at maximum fleet speed, sir. Minho didn't hesitate. He had been in the military for 30 years. The rule was simple. When someone calls for help, you answer. It didn't matter if they were human or alien. If civilians were in danger, Earth's fleet would respond. "Get me Captain Lee Jiwoo," he ordered. "Tell her to prepare the 7th Fleet for immediate deployment. Full combat readiness." Within 6 hours, 12 warships powered up their engines. 4 massive carriers launched their fighter squadrons for pre-flight checks. 2 battalions of Marines loaded their gear and boarded transport ships. The dreadnought Iron Resolve, the fleet's flagship, sat in the center of the formation like a sleeping giant waking up. Captain Lee Jiwoo stood on her bridge, reviewing the mission data. She was 42 years old, with short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had fought in 3 major conflicts and dozens of smaller operations. This seemed like a straightforward rescue mission, but something felt off. "Lieutenant Commander Park Hyunwoo," she called to her intelligence officer. "What do we know about this sector?" Hyunwoo pulled up star charts on the main screen. He was young, only 30, but brilliant at analysis. "The Kepler sector is mostly unexplored, Captain. No known hostile forces in the area. No reports of raiders or pirates. That's what bothers me about this distress call." "You think it's a trap?" "Maybe. Or maybe the translation is just bad." The message was very garbled. Jiwoo nodded slowly. "We'll go in ready for anything. Pass the word to all ships, weapons hot, shields up. If this is a rescue, we'll be ready. If it's a trap, we'll be ready for that too." In the Marine section of the ship, Sergeant Cho Minji briefed her platoon. 40 Marines sat in rows, checking their weapons and armor. Minji was tough and experienced, with a reputation for keeping her soldiers alive in the worst situations. "Listen up," she said loudly. "We're going to answer a distress call. Could be civilians under attack. Could be a combat situation. I want everyone sharp and ready. Check your gear 3 times. Watch your sectors. And remember your training." One young Marine raised his hand. "Sergeant, have we ever made contact with aliens before?" "A few times," Minji answered. "Mostly peaceful trading. Some exploration. This would be our first combat situation with aliens involved. So stay professional and follow orders." The Marines nodded and went back to their preparations. They trusted Minji completely. In the medical bay, Dr. Nam Seojin prepared for casualties. She was a xenobiologist, a scientist who studied alien life. She had joined the military to learn about other species, hoping to build bridges between humans and aliens. She always hoped for peace, but she knew the fleet wouldn't deploy unless the situation was serious. "Dr. Nam," said her assistant, "do you think we'll actually meet aliens this time?" Seojin smiled. "I hope so. And I hope they're friendly. First contact should be about friendship, not fighting." But she still prepared medical supplies for combat injuries, just in case. The fleet jumped to faster than light speed, and the stars stretched into lines of light. They would reach the Kepler sector in 4 days. Back on Thielic's ship, the Valoran was having a very bad day. His sensors detected something terrifying approaching his position. Energy signatures like nothing in the Valoran database. Massive ships. Weapons that could destroy planets. Military formations. A war fleet was coming straight toward him. Thielic panicked. He sent another message. "Please, there is no emergency. We are fine. Do not come here. We mean no harm." But the damaged translation system turned his message into gibberish. The human computers tried to translate it and came up with, "Under attack. Help immediately. Multiple hostiles." On the Iron Resolve, Lieutenant Park Danby, the communications officer, showed the new message to Captain Jiwoo. "They're sending another distress call," Danby said. "They sound desperate." Jiwoo's jaw tightened. "Increase speed. I want to get there in 3 days, not 4. Those people need help now." The fleet accelerated, pushing their engines harder. Thielic watched the approaching fleet on his sensors and did the only thing he could think of. He contacted the Galactic Council, the alliance of peaceful species that governed this part of space. He explained that aggressive aliens with massive weapons were coming to his location, and he didn't know why. The Council received his message with shock and fear. They had heard rumors about humans. Stories said they came from a dangerous world where everything tried to kill them. A planet with extreme gravity, terrible weather, and deadly animals. The humans had survived all of it and built weapons that scared even the Council's military advisors. Now those same humans were deploying a war fleet, and nobody knew why. The Council sent their own diplomatic ship racing toward the Kepler sector. They had to stop whatever was about to happen before it turned into a disaster, but they were too far away. The humans would arrive first. Captain Jiwoo stood on her bridge watching the countdown timer. 2 days until they reached the distress call. She had no idea that there was no attack, no raiders, and no emergency. She thought she was racing to save lives. Thielek sat on his ship, watching the human fleet get closer on his sensors. He had no idea the humans thought they were rescuing him. He thought an invasion was coming. Both sides were rushing toward the same place, and neither understood what the other was thinking. The biggest misunderstanding in galactic history was about to happen, and nobody could stop it. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light speed at the edge of the Kepler sector. Weapons ready and shields raised. First contact was about to go very, very wrong.